What's up, y'all? It's Matt Forte here with Sports Spectrum, and I got a great episode for you guys today, man. I got running back of the New Orleans Saints. Our paths cross actually. So I'm
Yeah.
I'm young enough to still say that our paths cross. But six-time Pro Bowl running back from the Saints, Alvin Kamara.
Yes,
Alvin,
indeed.
welcome to the podcast. Good to have you on, bro.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you, Matt.
Yes,
Appreciate it.
sir.
Appreciate it.
So year 9 coming up in the league, 8 in the
Mm-hmm.
books. A lot of production, both running game and passing game. For this year, year 9 in the league, you know how they talk. Running back, you get close to 30. Oh, they fall off the cliff. They this, they're that. All these connotations. First, how do you address that, and then how do you feel personally?
Man, I'm gonna go personally. I feel great. You know what I'm saying? I think every year I've done a good job of just finding that next evolution in my training, in my habits, in my eating. Like I always just try to find something every year to give me a competitive advantage. And I mean, just I think the consistency and the intensity in which I work out with, man, it's like it keeps me ahead of the game, right? So, um, to your other point, they say we got the worst position because age on us is like right when you hit 30, it's like you got to take you out back and and do it to you, right? So, for me, I mean, I turned 30 in a couple days, right? And on July 25th. So, man, I feel good, and I don't think that's a fair thing to put on us as a position, but it is what it is. I'm gonna still do what I do. I'm ready.
Yeah,
I feel great. And shoot, we'll revisit. I'll come back on the podcast and we'll revisit after the season, and we'll see if the
absolutely.
30 if the slump happened.
Yeah. I feel that because it's not a cookie cutter situation. We've had guys that were before me that our paths crossed over as well, like Frank Gore, who
Yeah,
played like 16 years. Guys like AP 14, 15 years in there, and it doesn't necessarily just say, oh, because you turned 30 that this is
exactly.
going to happen to you. The production is still there, and also it just depends on opportunities. What kind of
Hmm.
offense you're in, coaching changes, offensive coordinator changes. So with a lot of transition, I've been on teams that just constantly had transition in the league,
Yeah,
but between offenses and head coaches and GMs and all this stuff. You guys recently had some transition. Um, with that being said, what's the outlook of this season when it comes to the offensive system that's going to be put in and having a new head coach?
yeah. I mean, I think it's a fresh start, right? So we go from Sean, and then we go down 3 years and have kind of like a little dry spell, and the city wasn't really feeling too good. We weren't really feeling too good as a team. So we just needed something new. I think we got that. Obviously, Kellen just won a Super Bowl in Philly, so he coming in. I think he got a lot of energy, and I think he just got that restart, that reset button. Kind of that's what he's walking in with, and I think everybody's feeling it. I got around the building during mini camp and really kind of caught the vibe of everybody, and I think it was definitely needed. A change was definitely needed. So with him coming in and the type of offense that he's known for and the type of schemes he's known for, I think everybody's excited. Not only the players, but I think the fans are super excited too. So we just
Yeah,
got a camp coming up here in a second. We just got to go in and work and try to get back on that winning front, man, because that's one place that I will say I think, and I haven't been anywhere else, but I know that when we're winning in New Orleans, there ain't no other place like it.
yeah. Hey, I grew up there, I grew up around there, and when
Yeah.
when the Saints is winning, when I was growing up, they weren't with it, so it was all bad. So it's both
Hmm.
ways. It's really bad, but if it's with it, it's really good too.
Yeah. Yep.
And so with Kellen's experience too, I think that's important, right? Like coming from a fresh off a team who just won the Super Bowl, there's a type of playoff and Super Bowl like experience that he can garner and kind of players I feel like can glean that from a coach and other players, right? Where they've been to this destination before where everybody wants to go,
Yeah.
yet you got to have that experience of getting there. How do you feel that as a veteran now, you and your leadership within the team and being there about to be 9 years, how does that roll over to some of the younger players, new draft picks, and things like that?
Yeah. I mean, I think one, everything starts at the top. So, like you said, with Kellen having that experience and understanding, what it takes to win and what he wants from his players, his leaders, that's a huge part of it. So, kind of my job is simple, and I think Kellen and the crew that's in now, I think they understand that we got a lot of vet guys. You know, we got Cam Jordans, the Mario Davises, you know, guys that have been there, Tyron Matthew, a lot of guys that I think Kellen probably trust us and trust us to be like, all right, well, this is the message. This is what I want to get across. This is how we're gonna win as a team. This is how we're gonna come together as a team. You guys go echo that, right? So, you know, it's coming from the top. It's a clear, concise message, and then it's easy for us. We just go, we take the package and deliver it to some of those
Yeah,
younger guys, and I mean that's how you build culture. Spread it around the locker room, and then make sure it's being held. Everybody's being held accountable to that standard. And I mean it seems small, but you know that's the one of the key components in winning before you even step on the field, and just consistency in the culture within the locker room. You know, from player to player.
yeah. So you mentioned consistency and culture. I think that's two main points, especially being a guy who I hung around a long time on the Bears for 8 years, and then had two with the Jets. And
Hmm.
you can see as the league goes, there's a lot of transition of moving parts, and with the longer you stay around, the longer you see that there's ups and downs and these
Oh yeah,
changes within coaches and stuff. What's been something you've been able to keep from a coach like the Sean Payton type, where he comes in and really changes the direction of the organization as a
yeah,
whole from the Saints? Because
a
I
city.
grew up watching it, the city as
Yeah,
well. Yeah.
yeah, man. So from Sean, man, I think, and I talk to Sean all the time. I literally just talked to him 2 days ago. But from Sean, I think he was just him. One thing about him, he's an ultimate competitor, and then he's one person that you know it's all about winning, right? So he doesn't care what's going on. If you're not contributing to the greater goal of the team, he has no time for it, right? So I think just with that, you know, there's a certain pressure, not in a bad way, but a good way to be great, you
Hmm.
know. And when you cultivate that type of environment, it's infectious, and like norm average is almost a sin. You know what I'm saying? So
Hmm.
everybody is trying to be elite at everything. I mean, elite in the way you prepare, elite on Sundays, elite in everything. And that just it sticks, you know what I'm saying? And it's one of those things where you don't have to echo it. Everybody knows it's unspoken, right? So that's the point you want to get to when on a football team. And you know I experienced it, so in my head that's always what I keep with me. Like, man, you got to be excellent. You got to be uh, exceptional in everything you do. Nothing can be average because it's not an average game we play on Sundays. The average don't get it, you know.
Yeah.
So you know you got to be on point all the time. So I mean, Sean just put that in me, and he just it's carried me, you know, to this point. So I'm
Yeah.
still going and still kind of got that in me.
Yeah, I feel like there's definitely different levels of competition. Like there's some cats that's competitive, and then they got like the ultimate
Yeah,
competitor
that's Sean
nature,
for sure.
and you got to have that killer instinct. Like when somebody
Hmm.
you got them in a game and it's time to knock them out, you got to
Oh yeah, he don't
have
care.
that.
He
Yeah,
not holding no punches.
yeah, right, right. But
Yeah,
so with our, I guess the nature of the league, running backs and our value has gone up and down, and obviously it's starting to come back. I would say just because you saw last year what the running game did for Philly and what they've done
yeah.
with Saquon, and it's starting to become more of an emphasis or important. I guess back to the level. It's still a passing league, but you
Hmm.
being an all-purpose back adds another value and dimension to anybody's offense. But
Yeah,
I think you're not really seeing. I think during my career too, guys hang around on one team for their entire career. But that's not to say that it can't happen. What would that mean to you to be lifelong, career long Saints player? And you're already the leading rusher and
yeah,
holder for reception. So what would that? I mean, what would that do and mean to you to submit your legacy there for the New Orleans Saints?
yeah. I mean a lot, man. I think you know the past 2 years been a little rocky, and you know it's been you know up in the air. Like, oh well, is he staying? Is he leaving? And I think my whole mindset the whole time was like legacy, right? You know, it's bigger than you know the remedial things that a lot of people think about, like the money and you know, oh well, you got to go to a different team and win, and they not treating you right, and this that, and it's like, man, there's so much noise and a lot of things going on that people think is like what shapes a decision, and you know they don't really know what's going on internally, right? So Um, I think I just felt like I owed it to New Orleans, owed it to myself really to stay in one spot. And then obviously with the front office and those guys over there, they definitely helped me out because they made it a thing. They made it possible for me to say, all right, well, I said I verbalized that I wanted to be in New Orleans for my career and not go anywhere else, and they kind of they piggybacked on it and doubled down on it, and we locked in. So I'm there for another 2 years, and then after that, we'll see. If I'm done, I'm done. If I'm
Hmm.
still playing, I'll be in New Orleans still.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
man. I feel that. That's a blessing to be able to have to be able to be in that position to do that because that's not.
Hmm.
I mean, it's rare when it comes to just the NFL. You got great players that even just switch teams, and
Yeah.
even before our time. Like let's take a New Orleans native, Marshall Faulk, who
Yeah.
you know, I mean, killed it with the Indianapolis Colts, and then goes to the Rams and does the same thing. It is
Hmm.
like you had a Hall of Fame career between two teams, and
Yeah.
that's hard to do. But let's talk NASCAR, man. We in Chicago. You in Chicago right now. You look like you're in one of the trailers,
Yeah. I'm in the
for
trailer right
NASCAR.
now. Yeah.
And but you've been involved with NASCAR since 2021, and a lot of people
Hmm.
probably or might not know that as a growth and engagement advisor for them.
Yeah.
How did that and when did that come about?
Man, just during the pandemic, I was kind of at home, nothing going on, nothing really too much to do, and I'm sitting in the house, I'm sitting on the couch, flipping through the channels, and I just turn on NASCAR because I mean it's always it's always on, you see it, and you kind of just like okay, it's NASCAR, they just driving. So I'm like at this point I don't got nothing to do, so I put it on and I'm like I'm watching, and I'm really realizing how intricate it is and how strategic and just really how like it's kind of like a beautiful mesh of like strategy and skill, and so I'm just watching and kind of understanding what's going on. I'm like, man, it's kind of cool. So I kind of just reach out on Twitter like, oh, this is watching NASCAR, like dope, shout out, like, and they hit back and like, oh, we want to send you some gear, and I'm like, okay, cool. And then I'm looking, I'm like, man, it's a pandemic, but I wonder if I can come to a race. So I'm like, man, can I come to a race? And they're like, well, we'll get back to you. And then probably this was Sunday, so probably like front end of the week, middle of the week, and like coincidentally, I was in Miami, and the race was in Miami the following week. So they're like, well, we got about 2,500 vets sitting in the grandstands, but we can put you in a suite. So I'm like, perfect, I'm there. Fast forward, I go to the race, sitting up in the suite, and guy walks in. He just, I say what's up. I didn't know who he was. We just start talking NASCAR for about an hour. Like, we watching the race, just sitting there talking. I'm asking him questions, giving me feedback. And then all of a sudden he's like, oh, I gotta go. He's like, by the way, I'm Steve Phelps. I'm the president of NASCAR. And I'm like, man, what I'm like, yo, like, super cool, down to earth. And then for the rest is history. From there, we kind of developed this role. My boss, Erica Wilkerson, she kind of been guiding me throughout this whole thing. So it's been beautiful, man, and it's a whole new world. And I my whole job is to get people to come and experience the sport because I promise you, once you get here in person in the flesh and experience it, you'll be a fan.
Yeah, I can attest to that. Last year was
Yeah.
the first time I came for the NASCAR Street Series, the Chicago race,
Hmm.
and a lot of people don't know, man. There's a lot of former athletes that are in the pit crew, and actually a lot
Yeah.
of African American former football players that are in the pit crew because of the speed that you have to get around the car and change the tire and fill it up and to do all those positions. And I think that does a good job of highlighting some of the areas that you don't see or don't know
Yeah.
about within NASCAR that can be opportunities for young kids. I have a foundation here that fights against gun violence, and
Mm.
if they see that, then they know that they could be a part of that, something like that. So I think that's
Yeah.
pretty cool as well.
Yeah.
But speaking of the NASCAR part, and I love that as an NFL player, you can be involved currently while playing and not wait until afterwards. Because I know from experience, been retired 7 years, that sometimes you wait till football takes a lot of your time. So you can't be so involved in other things because it might distract you, right,
Yeah.
from team activities or something like that. But
Hmm.
um, do you plan on continuing your to grow your relationship with NASCAR as far as that and afterwards? I mean, Is there driving in the future or something like that? Because I don't know about you, but I drive like I'm on the field. Like I see
Man,
openings and like
yeah.
that vision of when you driving. I gotta slow down sometimes because like
I always tell people that. I tell my mom that. She's like, he drive dangerous. I'm like, nah, I'm seeing it like I see it on the field. I'm just
yeah,
seeing the openings. But I think for me, being involved for like about 4 years now, and then like you said, just kind of playing off obviously the day job, playing football, and then coming and doing this. There's obviously a balance that I gotta have, and I mean, you know, just being honest, like I'm not waiting until I'm done to dive head first into this. So I've been in it, just learning and experiencing everything I can experience and just getting really dialed in and tuned into the inner workings of NASCAR on both sides, on the team side and just the corporate side up top. So I mean, I'm
yeah,
definitely interested in whatever capacity, to just stay involved. I'm still playing, and hopefully after when I'm done playing, I'm still involved on this end. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But I
yeah.
definitely want to stay involved because it's been definitely a whole new world for me, and it's been great.
Yeah, I know one thing we could pitch, running backs driving against each other because we competitive and we
Yeah,
like to go
exactly,
fast, right?
man. Yeah.
But speaking of a tweet, which is funny that you sent the tweet and they responded to that. Recently, you tweeted about you said God is great, and
Yeah.
so I wanted to talk a little bit about that. Sports Spectrum is the intersection between sports and faith, and
Hmm.
just tell me a little bit about your relationship with God.
Man, for me, I think it's one of those things where you look at everything that you've been able to accomplish. When I do kind of sit down and sit back and say, "Oh man, I like." At the beginning of the interview, like 6-time Pro Bowl, and I'm like, you don't think about it, but when I do get a second, and I might be talking about it with somebody, and they're like, man, you did X Y Z, and you did X Y Z, and I'm like, I really just sit there, and for a second, I'm like, man, I did it physically, but I didn't do it by myself. Like, there's a reason I'm here, and shoot, God, man, like literally, it's God because there's so many times and so many opportunities that I could have been somewhere else,
Hmm.
or I couldn't, I might not have been here. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying? Without that grace, without that guidance. So, I just really everything that I've been able to accomplish, everything that I've been able to provide for myself, my family, like it's all from God. It's
yeah,
nothing that I've done by myself, and I know that wholeheartedly. So, I
yeah.
just keep my faith strong, and that's why we talking about 30s and this running. I'm like, man, until God say when God say it's done, then it's done. But
Yeah.
I don't care about those analytics or drop off and this and that, man.
Hmm.
Talk to God.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah,
even after that, like that's not football is not all there is in the world,
of
right?
course.
Like God
Yeah.
created you for a purpose
Hmm.
and we'll continue to, go through that journey and find that out. And it's crazy amount of grace that you can see in hindsight. Like once you've played
Yeah.
a longer time. And even when you finally whenever the game ends, 4 or 5 years from now for you, you can look back and really like it's funny. I'll look at YouTube with my kids and they're like, Dad, that's you. I'm like, yeah. And I'm even to
Yeah.
myself like, I can't believe I did that for that
Man.
long at that level. And like when you playing, you don't really get that time to sit and like appreciate it because you
Yeah.
you like it's the next season or the next, whatever that or next goal that you got to attain. So,
Hmm.
um, I think that's dope that you can have that perspective that of seeing how God has had His hand on your life because nobody looks at a masterpiece of a painting and says, "Oh, that just came together."
Yeah.
Like no,
Nah.
like nobody. Of course, you know that there's an artist that did that,
Yeah.
right? But you recently was in the Middle East and I saw a video on Instagram.
Hmm.
Tell me a little bit about that trip and what you learned while you was over there.
Oh man, I was over there. Man, it was a beautiful trip. Crazy how it came together. One of my good friends, Ken's also. I was literally just watching something on YouTube. It was like a food blogger that I watched, and he went to Jordan. And I text her one night, and I'm like, man, this looks good. I want to go to Jordan. It might have been like in October or something. And she was like, would you go? I'm like, yeah, of course. So fast forward to like January, February, she's like, hey, I got it set up. We're gonna go to Jordan. So, big thanks to Visit Jordan and the whole uh, um, the tourism authority in Jordan. They set me up, had everything laid out. I mean, I saw everything. I went to Petra, went to Wadi Rum, went to the Dead Sea, went to the baptism site. Man, it was amazing. Like, I mean, just the culture, the food, excellent. I mean, I was getting texts the whole time, and I want to say this because I want to kind of flip the narrative. Like, everybody was worried. They're like, "Why are you in the Middle East? Why are you in Jordan? What's going on? It's not safe. It's not safe." And I'm like, "It's safe. It's fine. Like, I'm good in Jordan. Like, I'm safe. Everybody's good, taking good care." And obviously, it's just a lot of time for like education and things like that. Also, because you get educated on what's going on over there. In our world, I think in the United States, we see, obviously there's news, and I don't get too deep into politics and things like that, but being over there and having a chance to hear from people on what's going on, like the history of just that whole area of Palestine and all that. It just puts things into perspective. And again, we're going back to the God thing. I mean, just it makes you realize how blessed you are, to have the opportunities and to have the experiences that you have. No matter who you are, no matter where you are, I think it puts everything in perspective. So
Yeah.
definitely a great trip. Would definitely and will definitely be going back. I think I want to go and explore a little bit more of the Middle East, but it was go. It was cool.
Yeah, yeah. Every time travel is great for perspective, and also
Yeah,
being amongst other culture is so
yeah.
good. Um, and I had to wait until shoot after retirement to do something like that. I went to India, but it was
Oh
just
wow.
to be around other people, and you see that there's a vast difference, but there's not really that much. There's a lot more alike that you
Yeah,
have, a lot
exactly.
more in common that you have with everybody on this earth than that you
Hmm.
have differences, and so. It's really cool that you got to do that. I know I got a barber down the street that's from Jordan, and we
Ah,
have
okay.
deep talks about all kind of different stuff as well. And we talk about the food and how it's very similar to African American food and
Yeah,
stuff like
yeah,
that. So it was really cool. And then also, man, it's cool because uh, what I've learned in my career as well, and then just in life in general, is that when you have a distance from something, it breeds a little bit of fear or
yeah, for sure,
uncertainty. But when
for
you
sure.
get close to something or some people group or a different nation or culture, you have a first of all you get the truth of like who those people are,
Exactly.
and then you understand that like I said, you have those similarities amongst them. So
Yeah, it definitely bridges a gap.
that kind of brings me to my last couple of questions. I wanted to talk about identity. And so when everybody looks at you as a football player, when they look at me, oh, running back, football,
Hmm.
this, and it would be a shame for us to just have it stop there, right? Because
Yeah.
God has placed us on this earth to do something way bigger and beyond just playing a sport as a platform. I feel like it's a launching pad to something greater. When
Hmm.
that comes to you, what do you think about that as far as your identity and it not being in just NFL or football, but then also
Yeah.
the legacy part? What do you want you to submit your legacy as you continue to grow?
Man, I think it's tough for a lot of guys in our position, right? Not just football, but in sports. But I talk, football because obviously you have the experience, and I'm obviously experiencing it right now. I think a lot of guys are scared to find their true selves because we're always in the helmet, we're always in the jersey, we always got a logo on, and guys kind of have a fear or insecurity of like, well, this is my job, I got to focus on this, and I don't want to give off a scent that I'm my attention is split between football and
Yeah,
traveling, between football and NASCAR, between football and my other business ventures, and with me, I never had that insecurity or that hesitancy. I mean, or that hesitance or that fear where it was like, man, I don't want anybody to think that I'm not dialed in or tuned in on my job on football. Man, I do that. There's a time where I lock in, and you see it every Sunday. But I think that for me, a lot more of my focus, especially the older I've gotten, has been on, like you said, not waiting till after my career to do the things that I feel like I'll be doing for way longer in my life. Football is only a certain amount
yeah,
of time. When you win it, you don't really stop and smell the roses, and then just like that, I'm 9 years in. I still remember my rookie year, my first
Yeah.
play, first game, right? So I think just being able to kind of step outside of that and say, all right, you know what? I have to set myself up for my future, and I can't be scared or hesitant about, what these coaches think or what this front office thinks about what I'm doing outside of that organization or outside of that building. And it's in the most respectful way, but I got other things that I'm doing. I got other things that I want to do. And a lot of people, I hate this term, like I hate this phrase. And it was like we all grew up on it. Eat, sleep, breathe football, right? And it's
Yeah.
like, man, it's like that's really aggressive when you think about it, because it's like, man, what else? I'm more than a football player.
Yeah.
Like, what else? What else? I don't have time for anything else. And so I think for me, just as a person, I think when everybody sees me, they know it's like, okay, that's Alvin. Like, I think a lot of people kind of put the football to the backside with me, because they look at all the other things I'm doing. They're like,
Yeah.
man, bro, how do you have time? Like, how do you have time to train and do all this? And I'm like, yo, the main thing is the main thing. Like football, I do that, but I definitely make sure that I have time for my other interests, and I'm just setting myself up for things beyond football. I don't have that insecurity or that fear of like, going and exploring other things and
Hmm.
trying to figure out, because it might be a time. I always tell people it might be a time where football becomes not not an interest,
Hmm.
and if it gets to that point, then I'll definitely be done. Like, I'll never, for me, I'll never do something that's not fulfilling,
Yeah.
right? So as long as this is still fulfilling, I'll do it. But I don't have I definitely want to make sure that I'm exploring other things and scratching those itches of like, shoot, I would have never thought I'd be in the Middle East. I had the opportunity to go and loved it, and there's other things that I feel like will stem from that. So I
Yeah.
don't I would be doing myself a disservice if I didn't do that because of you know
Yeah.
football, or because of I'm hesitant or scared about what the perception will be on me. So I mean, I think my identity is just true to the core.
Yeah. Yeah. People try to place you in a box so that they can understand it, and it
Yeah,
makes it easier for them to understand. But if you place yourself in that, then you're selling yourself short, really.
yeah,
And it's great to have those experiences, man. I literally yesterday told my kids I spent a longer amount of time trying to get into the NFL than I actually spent in the NFL.
yeah,
I started when I was 7, so that took 15 years. Got drafted at 22, and went 10 years. So
yeah.
spent 15 trying to get in, and then
Trying to get there for 10. Yeah,
but and to show them that even life after football is way longer than either one of those seasons.
mm-hmm.
So you do have to definitely do that, and I'm glad. And that's a testament to any of the guys that's NFL guys or desire to be, maybe they're college or high school. They want to be in the NFL. Explore outside of football. Like, obviously focus on your stuff. You can
Yeah,
multitask. Focus
yeah,
on what you got to do first. But there's other things that can be a exploration that you can do, and that could be a part of you. But time is valuable. I know that, especially on the track. So I'm gonna let you get
yeah.
back to NASCAR and do what you do, bro. I'm
No
excited to
doubt.
see you in probably tomorrow. But
Yeah, I see
thanks
you
for coming on Sports Spectrum and giving us
for
some of your
sure,
time.
man. Appreciate you, Matt. See you
Yes, sir.
soon, dog.
For sure.